Hello and welcome back to Hero Builds. Today we are doing Dehaka. It's been a while since I've done one of these or even actually played Heroes of the Storm. So a quick overview of Dehaka. First ability Q is drag, basically spit your tongue out, drag them around, or you can just keep them there, stun them and wail on them. Second is Dark Swarm. This doesn't do a great amount of damage towards enemies, but it's a good amount of DPS, especially for a tank, and it does excel at taking out minions. Your third ability, Burrow. This is basically your safe zone. Getting hit with CC, no thanks, press E and bury yourself. Now his passive is actually really good, or trait, whatever you call it. Basically killing heroes gives you 10 essence, killing minions gives you 2, and you press D and you heal for X amount per level that you are per essence you have. Now, the heroic we'll be going for is Absorption. He does have a second one that's Isolation, which I don't really use. If you want to use it, that's great, but we're going for Absorption. Now, his level 1 talent is Tissue Regeneration. Increases the amount of essence that you can have, as well as your passive health regen and the amount of essence you can have. Level 4 is you increase your essence from minions, the amount of essence you obtain from minions by 50%, so it's no longer 2, it's now 3. This does become redundant later on, but it's useful for the simple fact that it becomes redundant at level 20. Level 7 is basic attacks reduce the cooldown of drag. Level 10, like I said, adaptation. This is great because you're basically going for tanking. Level 13, the amount of essence increases the amount of damage your basic attacks do. Level 16, increase the range of your drag, which is required. And then level 20, this is where you basically become a god, by the way. Basic attacks will give you 5 essence and will also slow your target by 20% for 1 second. Change is upon us. So the way in which this build generally works is hoping that the enemy you're up against is stupid enough to stay within melee range of you, because especially if it is one-on-one, you can take them. Shit bust. End of story, you can take them. It takes an awful lot, particularly when you get to around level 13, for you to actually be killed. You can still be killed, but it takes an awful lot. It will take at least 3, sometimes 4 enemies, depending on the enemy team composition, to take you out. As well as if you hit level 20, you are damn near immortal. You are not going to die because you can just continually spam your trait or passive D and just heal yourself constantly. Just basically focus the enemy heroes and you're golden. Now, early game, the way in which you want to play this is if you can get those early kills, despite the fact that they don't really mean too much on the old XP front, not really too bothered about that. It's more the increase in essence you are wanting, as well as using your Dark Swarm to take out those swarms of enemy minions. You are wanting to build up your stacks as quick as possible to take complete advantage of that quest. This will give you at max 60 essence, which will then in turn, when you hit level 16, give you roughly a 60% increase in all of your melee damage. So you can hit pretty darn hard. So that's quite nice. Now, like I said, you are still capable of dying, and the general gist really is when you feel threatened, utilize your trait and just try and stick in there and hope that whatever you're fighting is stupid enough to stay in front of you. So you can eventually deal some pretty hefty damage, but the easiest way to actually secure those kills is to try and isolate the enemies. Get in their face, hope that they stick around until you can at least whittle them down to about half health. Once they're around half health, utilize your Q, your drag them towards your towers, into your minions. If you've got a nice assassin with you, get them to help you out. Basically just isolating your heroes. I recommend isolating supports first of all, then specialists, assassins, and then going for warriors. Supports for obvious reasons, because they can bring a downer on your team, because they're keeping the enemy team alive, especially that dreaded Lieutenant Morales. Specialists, because some of them, such as Gazlo, can be an absolute pain in the arse, as well as Zagara with all her little spawns. With an Abathar, not too bothered. If you can get to him, you can get to him. If you can't, yeah. Asmodam as well can be a bit of a dick along with his spawning as well. From there, you're going to want to go for assassins. There are a few that can seriously screw you over, such as I don't know what the build would be, a similar build to what I utilise with my Butcher, just because they can do so much damage, and until you hit level 20, he can certainly chew through you, as well as things like Cassio, just because of the amount of blind that she can throw out as well. As you will see here, half of my attacks don't even hit her, and I make a stupid mistake of staying in there for too long, and guess what inevitably happens? That's right, I actually do die. I cut that out though, so you'd have to watch it because it's sad. Poor Dehaka. Now, once you hit level 10, start tanking up the towers and hoping people actually realise that you are tanking. As you go in, utilise adaptation. It should, if you're going in with roughly 75% health, should basically trigger the healing just as you are about to die, and boom, you're back to 75% health. At this point, utilise your stacks with your essence to heal yourself, just to stay in there a little bit longer. When you've used roughly 50% of your essence stacks, or 50% of the healing from your essence stacks, that's when you start making your way out. Or if your minions have come along, utilise E, borrow, to basically get the hell out of dodge, and hope that your minions then start taking fire. From here, you'll be getting an increase in your drag range, as well as an increase in your melee basic attack from your essence, which should be now up to 60%, which means you can hit a lot, and I do mean a lot harder, to a point of where you are on par of damage with some of the harder hitting assassins in the game, as well as the fact that you are also a tank that can heal yourself quite a darn lot. So just to cover all of our bases, using adaptation you're able to mitigate quite a bit of damage, because oh no, the damage that's been done to me has just disappeared. You're able to heal on a regular basis, providing you are taking out your minions, which is why I did say at level 4 the minion one's the better option, because they're easier and more consistent to kill than trying to get the hero kills. The minions are just generally easier. However, at level 20 that does become completely redundant. It's not needed, but you will struggle up until level 20 trying to get those essence. If you don't struggle getting the essence and you're more adept at getting those kills, go for the talent that does give you the more essence from hero kills. That's entirely up to you. It waxes and wanes as to how you play and your team composition, so just stick with it, test them both out. I personally go for minions, like I have said several times. And then when you finally hit level 20, you become a god. Enemies just cannot get away from you unless they slow you down for more than 1 second. Otherwise, you can stay constantly on them, because your basic attacks slow them by 20% for 1 second. You attack on average roughly, I think, just over 1 attack per second, like 1.1 attack per second, or it might just be 1 attack per second. This will keep them within melee range, as well as every melee hit you do against an enemy hero will give you 5 essence. This is where the minion essence collecting thing becomes redundant. You're going to be constantly gaining essence. Along with utilising drag, you can stun enemies just in case they are hitting you a little bit too hard. This does stun them for 2 seconds for you to either heal or just stop them hitting you, and from there you are basically just going to win. If they do start hitting you a little bit too hard, you are gaining essence continuously, so that you can just press D and heal, or use adaptation to completely mitigate that damage, provided you don't die in the process, which is why sometimes it is useful to have both adaptation as well as your essence trait active at the same time. You can heal through it and then mitigate the damage, as well as, while this is going on, if you are hitting an enemy hero at level 20, you are still gaining essence, so that the moment the cooldown for your trait is ended, which is only about 4 or 5 seconds, you can just press it again for that little bonus bit of healing. And from there, as well as if you are stuck, or not even stuck, if you're sat in the mob of minions, you can have Dark Swarm active just to kill them and gain even more essence while you're at it. The end result is that pretty much at level 20, the only way you can really die is if you are trying to take on the entire enemy team at one time. And even then, they're going to have a difficult time doing it. They will eventually kill you if you're stupid and stick in there, but they are going to have a difficult time doing it. And I would say that, particularly with some of the more squishier opponents, such as some of the assassins, or even a few of the supports, depending on what ones they are, you could possibly take them out as well. I've not actually really gone for that scenario, but I've definitely gone 1 on 4, and I killed 3 of them before the butcher finally killed me, which was actually darn well impressive. I imagine if there was the 5th one involved, possibly wouldn't have done so well. Maybe 2 out of the 5, but still. The end result really in general though is that Dehaka is, I would say, one of the best tanks in the game at the moment. I can kind of see him probably getting a little bit of a rework. I'm hoping not, because he is really, really strong. He's quite well balanced, because he only really gets that strong once you have hit level 20, and I do feel it's a nice reward for getting to level 20 with this build. There are some certainly powerful builds with Dehaka. This is just the one I prefer to use. Starts out quite slow, but you are certainly survivable for the most part. And then when you actually finally get to level 20, you're just this walking behemoth of a dinosaur that just doesn't want to die. Anyway, that's me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys pretty darn soon. Ta-ra!